happy that I could come.
जरा बोलो ना बात आइए
South City one पे है.
No, despite the weather, I think they are really good.
Very good. Don't spend much time here. I'm now mostly in 1960.
Brara सब एक जगह बोले आज ही
So nice, very nice of you to come. Salle Punjab Engineering College है, दोस्त, बस कभी.
Christopher Morley said, "When you sell a man a book, you don't sell him 12 ounces of paper, glue and ink. You actually sell him a whole new life." On that note, I, Charushila Narula, on behalf of Wisdom Village Publications Division, the author, Mr. Arvinder S. Brara, and Mantic Consultants, welcome you all to the book release ceremony of The Art of Getting People to Say Yes. A very special welcome to our very special guest today, Dr. Kiran Bedi, who needs less of an introduction, I would say. She's India's first and highest ranking former woman officer, Raman Magsaysay awardee, and undoubtedly one of the most admired Indian women. Shri Anil Shastri, chairman of the Lal Bahadur Shastri Institute of Management and member of the Congress Committee. Would you please like to join us on the dais, please, sir, ma'am? Wisdom Guru Pawan Chaudhary, who is the author of world-acclaimed books such as When You Are Sinking, Become a Submarine, and Success Sutras for the 21st Century, a Trilogy of Wisdom. Mr. Sanjay Shrivastava, Director, All India Management Association. And I'd also request the author to please join us on the stage. Well, Confucius has said that anyone who finds time to promote books should be honored, because he brings to our attention the very books that require our attention or our neglect. So I thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us today, to promote this book, and to join us to say yes. Well, I feel very positive today. Do you all feel positive today? Oh, great. I feel like this, what I see before me, is somewhere the face of achievement, of success, of development, of happiness. And I feel proud to share with all of you today that Wisdom Village Publications, in a short span, has made some substantial contributions to the publishing and the reading industry. We have had, quite remarkably, we have become the launching pad for a number of authors who could have found other publishers, but they have chosen Wisdom Village Publications simply because of the reason that they get a personalized attention here. And more so, this personalized attention starts right from the inception of the idea of a book to the completion and even beyond. We have, through our conduct and interaction, we wish to occupy the space of an ethical, dynamic publisher. We made our commitment to the business, mind, body, and soul genres of expression, and some unique books and author relationships have emerged from these interactions. Over the last year, we have launched titles which are on lines of personality development, society development, and more importantly, nation development. And today we are here to celebrate another such title, The Art of Getting People to Say Yes. I have to share that since the time I've been working on this book, that I affectionately call the Yes book, I have come across so many yeses around me. The movie Yes Man, the Yes dance, yes mugs, yes signposts everywhere, yes coasters. Come to think of it, even Obama has been going in the face with yes you can. So what is this? I asked myself. What is all this? I have a theory that maybe it's the yes effect in some way. So when we say the art of getting people to say yes, 6 Steps to Effective Persuasion Skills is truly a life-changing book, we really mean it. And I know you might say, I'm the publisher, I'm supposed to say that, so I'll leave it to the experts to really do all the talking on that. But all I can add is this, that if it wasn't for this 3-letter word, yes, you and I would not be here. And it's either a yes, I will marry you, or I do, or Kabul hai. I would say a lot of big relationships and collaborations begin with affirmations. And we all want to hear this, yes, you get this contract. Yes, I will buy this car. Yes, your leave is granted. Yes, you're right. So on that very affirmative note, I would say it is important to understand this art of getting people to say yes in order to be successful, in order to be happy and prosperous. So let us move on with the man who decided to share this art of getting people to say yes with all of us, Mr. Arvinder S. Brara, who, apart from being an international management consultant with a wide experience of over 30 years with renowned corporations in different parts of the world, is truly a dynamic person. He is the founder of Mantic Consultants Private Limited and has successfully steered its growth as its chairman and managing director since 1979. Apart from providing effective consultation to a number of companies worldwide on specific organizational and motivational issues, he has organized and conducted various management and self-improvement workshops with great success. IIM Calcutta, University of California, West Coast University, Center for Systems and Management Studies, IIT Delhi. These are just some of the business schools that have benefited from his knowledge. His first book, in fact, Practical Guide to Managing People, was co-authored with Dr. Eugene Richman and published by a subsidiary of Prentice Hall, New York. And now it's been my good fortune to have worked with him on his secret, the art of getting people to say yes. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Arvinder S. Brara.
Thank you, Charu. Dr. Kiran Bedi, Mr. Anil Shastri, Mr. Pawan Chaudhary, Mr. Sanjay Shrivastava, distinguished audience. Some of you are even better personalities and well-known than myself, so I'm really honored to have such a distinguished gathering of friends and colleagues. I wanted to, from the author's side, share with you what was the background of this book and some incidents which led me to write this book. One of the very beautiful things which happened in my life was to be selected for the East-West Center grant and go to Hawaii. Honolulu is a great place. I had the good fortune to spend 3 years there. It was a highly productive time because I was selected by Xerox Corporation, the only MBA graduate, and I think the turban really helped. And that was my first very successful way to get a yes, because he asked me a very interesting question. Tell me, you kind of look different, so why should we hire you? And I responded by saying precisely for that reason, because I look different and Americans are very curious. So when I walk into an office, they love to talk to me as compared to another ordinary-looking American. And I was half joking, but it came to be true. And lo and behold, I won all the awards I was eligible for. One of the very life-changing experience I had with Xerox was a 3-week course in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, on professional selling skills. Now I'm talking of really way back, 1971, fully videotaped, played back to teach you how you look to the other person. And they had I remember those days it used to cost $20,000 for the training. Of course, being Xerox employee, it was free, but for other people. And I think that changed my life because it taught me that if somebody says no, no Arvinder, this is finito, don't talk about it, chapter closed. It taught me, if there was merit in what I had to say, how to get back and get a yes. And I thought that was very, very powerful. And I have practiced this. So then I realized that these skills should not be left only to selling a product or a service. When I was in University of Hawaii doing my MBA, I'm an engineer from Punjab Engineering College. Another interesting thing happened. I studied behavioral science, and I took to it like a fish takes to water, because I could not imagine that behavioral science could be such an exact science like physics and chemistry. And I'm sure a lot of you may not also have realized this, but behavior is very predictable. It follows certain very scientific and exact responses. And I really enjoyed that. And I felt that that needs to be understood. You know, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, MBA students read it, but they probably don't go beyond knowing how to practice it in real life. It's a very, very useful knowledge to have to really use in your day-to-day interactions. Because when you want to judge how to motivate the other person, you need to assess what the needs are. And there's a model. So anyway, I found behavioral science to be very, very interesting. So, and you know, the great thing about America is, of course, that you can aim for anything. So over a coffee break, I spoke to my professor that shouldn't we write a book for guys who can't come to school? Maybe we should have a condensed MBA book. And he said, well, it's a good idea. Why don't you look at it? And we sent the chapter outlines to a few publishers, and Prentice Hall came back and said, hey, you're too ambitious. You can't condense the whole MBA into one book. But what you can do is write something on managing people, because that's what we're looking for. And to cut the story short, I wrote the chapters, and the book was published, and it was a reasonably big success. So that was the first book in 1975, and Tarapurwala published it. Then what happened, I came back to India and got involved with setting up Mantech, and it's now been built up to a situation, but my first love has been writing books. So this book, based on my Xerox experience and on the experience of using it, another small case example I want to give you is, you know, in Mantech we have 4 divisions: HRD, Projects, Environment, and IT. In the IT division, we had a customer in Philadelphia who simply just cancelled the contract with us, and I wanted to meet him. And the guy said, you know, Americans, if they make up their mind that they don't have the time for you, then they are not easily persuaded to change that. So fortunately, since I had known these skills, I was able to get to meet the guy, because I used the logic that, look, you've given the contract to somebody else, don't worry, we don't want the contract, but I want to share with you our past experience so that you can benefit. It's a little hard thing to say no to when somebody is saying, I only want to come and share something which may benefit you. But the guy was adamant, he still didn't agree. And then I had a rapport with his boss's secretary, and the secretary told him, look, why don't you call this guy Brara from India, give him a cup of tea and get rid of him, you know, so that he seems to be wanting to say it, so hear him out. So he relented and said, okay, come. So my son flew from LA, I flew from Delhi. And it's amazing. And this is part of the message in the book. It's amazing when you probe and you go into depth. So within 5-10 minutes, the guy said, look, now I know you guys, it seemed to be that I've been misled. My chaps have told me about something which they have done wrong, and it seems to have been put on you. And fortunately, I haven't signed the contract with anybody else. And to cut the story short, not only did we get the contract, but he became a friend for life, and we still negotiate. And I owe this to this training and this what has been now presented in the book. Another thing which I found, which was very interesting, and this is the background of the book, why the book was written, is that we all come across situations every day. Especially your children will say no because they think you're a different generation and what you're talking about doesn't hold good. So they will say no, even if you're making sense. Your boss will probably say no because he thinks he's the boss and he's smarter than you, and so on. And so on. So you have many situations where the person will say no, even though there is merit. Now this model, and I do, without trying to sound modest or immodest as the case may be, I do claim to have developed this model, which is a 6-step model on effective persuasion skills, stepwise, how you can get a very firm no and to a yes, and not only a yes, but win the affection and respect and friendship of the other guy. So the model is not based on being persuasive or being adamant or trying to ram down your thoughts, but totally a different approach. And one of the things which starts with is opening statement. You know, you're stuck if the guy says, like if go and meet Kiran ji and she says, no, Arvinder. So what do you do to get her to listen? And she's a very sharp person and also busy person. So you've got only maybe 20 seconds to say something which will get her to listen. So it teaches you how to open a statement where the person will still listen to you, although he's closed on the door. And there are some statements you can make where the guy will listen. I'm tempted to share that with you, but that will take too much time. But if you know this technique, and it's no trickery here. There's no trickery or smart aleckmanship here. It's all behavioral science. The other guy will like to listen to something which he thinks he is going to benefit from. So if you tell him, okay, I'm going, but would you please tell me what I've done wrong so that I can learn from this, and I really appreciate your guidance. Very difficult for a guy to then be still cussed and say, no, you get out. Some people still do that, then you've got another technique to handle that. But it's a very scientific and logical behavioral process, opening a statement to get the guy, but then you do not know why the person is saying no. So then you probe. And now all these things we all do sometime or the other, but we don't do it in a systematic, organized, model way. You got to probe. If your son is saying no, you got to probe, and you got to probe in a way that he can talk or he'd like to talk. After having probed, he's obviously going to raise some objections. So then you have to be able to handle objections. So the book teaches you how to handle objections. Okay, after handling objections, people don't like to take decisions just because they've got answers to objections. Then you got to support and prove your point. And lastly, you got to ask for acceptance, which is where most people hold back because they are shy or afraid to ask for agreement. They think they've done their bit, told everything, told the merit, and then now it's up to the guy to say yes. No, you got to ask for a yes. Because then he'll either say a yes or he'll say a no or a maybe. And this book will teach you to handle maybes and no's also. So the motivation here was really to share this success model, which is proven. And it's based on scientific professional selling skills model, to help people to improve their quality of life, to get more yeses, because, otherwise if you get a no, you get frustrated, you get angry. And if you have more yeses, then you are a happier person, you are a healthier person. Also, it would help in bureaucracy, it will help in professional matters, because it will cut short the tremendous dialogue which goes on. Because if you are able to communicate and cut short and get to an understanding quicker. So quite honestly, this is with a very strong desire to help the younger generation, the students, the retirees, the professionals, the bureaucrats, and anyone who can read a book really to benefit from it. So I would like to just say that on the part of acknowledgements, I must say that I owe a lot to Peter Drucker, the late Peter Drucker, because when I was in California, he's such a great man. You won't believe this. I called him on the spur of the moment to ask advice on this book. And would you believe one of the greatest management gurus of all time took the call. I'm an optimist. I thought he would, but I myself felt that if he says he's too busy and won't be able to talk to me, I'll accept it. But he spoke to me. I asked him about the book. He gave me advice. In fact, I honestly asked him, should I co-author it with somebody or do it on my own, because my first book was co-authored. And he says, no, you should do it on your own. So amazing person. So I have in my book acknowledged him. I have also acknowledged in the book the wonderful work done by Charu. And what I enjoyed most of it was she did it with so much of her heart in it that she says, Mr. Brara, while going through the book, I've really learnt a lot and I've really enjoyed it. And I thought that was remarkable, and it was great. There are many others who I've acknowledged in the book, and today I'd like to also acknowledge the great encouragement given by Dr. Kiran Bedi and Mr. Anil Shastri being here, and also Pawan. Pawan I've known for many years, and the book started by my just talking to him, because today, if I may tell you, getting a book published by one of the international publishing houses is a bigger project than writing the book. Because then they ask you to make a business plan. They ask you, how can you sell the book? How much money will you put in? And all that. So I tried that, and at this stage of life, I wasn't out to chase too much. And Pawan encouraged very, very much, and it's been very smooth going, and therefore I think the quality of the book has improved tremendously because of the work done. And of course, I have to also acknowledge the great encouragement given by my father, who's a young 92, and also my wife, Dolly Brara, where I keep practicing the yes technique. And my son, who's not here. So I would say, to just conclude my talk, I would say that all of you, I would take it, are very, very competent people. And all of you have your own ways to get a yes. But I can assure you, if you read the book in depth, you will definitely enrich your ability to get more yeses quicker and easily. And I would also request you, because the whole motivation here is to spread the message and let people benefit. So please tell other friends about your book, and the more people benefit from it, the more gratified I would be. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, sir. There you go, the yes man. The next person I'd like to call upon is Wisdom Guru Pawan Chaudhary, who, after the phenomenal success of his world-acclaimed book, When You Are Sinking, Become a Submarine, has recently launched for all of us Success Sutras for the 21st Century. It's a trilogy of wisdom. It's a nation-building collection of Chanakya's political wisdom, Confucius's social wisdom, and Kabir's spiritual wisdom. Many of you might already have heard of him, known him, and you would be happy to know that the Times of India has now placed him amongst the foremost thinkers of the world today. Mr. Pawan Chaudhary is not only just a mentor for Wisdom Village Publications, but also our star author, whose works we are immensely proud of. When I first shared with him this manuscript, he had some very insightful comments to make on it, and I'd request him to share those with all of you today. Mr. Pawan Chaudhary.
Kiran ji, Anil ji, Arvinder ji, Mr. Shrivastava, Ms. Charushila Narula, and members of the audience. It's a pleasure to be with you all. And I will use the word selling in its classical sense. Selling in its classical sense means gain acceptance. To gain acceptance for a product, an idea, or a service. As a student of wisdom, one of my key areas of interest is the struggle between the principled man and the unscrupulous man. Let us, for simplicity, call him the good man and the bad man. In this struggle, sometimes the good man wins. Often the bad man wins. And one of the key reasons why the good man often loses is because he cannot gain acceptance. He cannot sell. He doesn't sell. So you see many good men sidelined and sidetracked because they could not gain acceptance. Oscar Wilde calls such people the virtuous losers. And he says, I can only pity them. I can't admire them. And I say, I can pity them, I can sympathize with them, I can help them, but I also can't admire them. Because I feel that a good man who loses is the worst advertisement for goodness. He turns off many other people who see his example away from goodness. So, are good men foolish that they don't sell? No. Then why they don't sell? They feel that they will lose self-respect by selling because there is some failure also involved there, rejection also involved there, or they could be seen as manipulative. So firstly, we need a system that will help the good man sell what he has without losing his dignity and without losing his integrity. Is such a system available? Let me tell you, the first 10 years of my career were spent in the field of marketing and advertising and sales. And I looked for such a system. I read scores of books. I went to dozens of classes and seminars, etc. I did not find such a system. Then I stopped reading selling books only. Till Charu presented this manuscript. And when I read it, I felt, in the beginning I was skeptical, sir. But when I read it, I started enjoying it. And I thought that this book achieves that balance and helps you tell the truth well without compromising your dignity and your integrity. Gaathe kholti hai kitab, you know. So it really changed my perspective about selling, and I felt, okay, there are win-win possibilities there, which is the other distinguishing trait of this book. And that is, it focuses on what the other person wants. The first chapter of the book itself is titled, What the Other Man Wants. Reading it, I was reminded of one incident from my earlier life, earlier corporate life. This was in Calcutta. I look after a French multinational in the field of healthcare. I was there to meet the owner of a pediatric hospital, a big pediatric hospital, with my team. And we were entering that hospital, and at the gate, we saw a boy about 13 years of age selling balloons. I admired his genius, but we were getting late, so we rushed to meet the doctor, the owner. Met the doctor. In the course of our conversation, I told him that I saw a genius at your gate. He said, if you're speaking about that little boy who's selling balloons, I fully agree with you, he's a genius. Can you tell me why both of us felt that he's a genius? This is a small quiz for you. Why both of us felt that that boy who's selling balloons there is a genius? Exactly, sir. Because he's selling balloons where? Outside a pediatric hospital. So the kids are coming with the parents, and the moment they see that they are being led to the pediatric hospital, they start crying, thinking that an injection is coming or some bitter medicine is definitely coming. So they start crying, and to pacify them, the parents buy from the balloon wala. Not only the parents, the doctor told me that where there is a specially stubborn whaler, sometimes I also have to run or my staff has to run because he says, I want a pink one also before I take the injection. So, what this told me? It told me that he is keeping the other man's need in his mind. His focus is the other man. Because many people would have seen that, many people would have seen that place, but they did not realize, they did not feel the pain of the kid. They did not feel the anxiety of the parent, what to do now. He felt that, and he was prospering. The doctor told me 6 months back when he came here, he had no shoes. And now he owns a Swega. Swega is an old moped. And he is also invested in oxygen cylinder and all, and maybe he is going to have a bank balance also, because he was telling me that, can I get your endorsement in my banks for a bank account, sir? So somewhere he kept the other person's need in mind genuinely. So this book has that in it. It keeps the other person's needs in mind genuinely. It says, for example, it is talking about what the boss wants or what the subordinate wants. It is throwing light there. By throwing light at these areas, it is giving you a behavioral blueprint as to how to operate so that you can win as well as the other person who's there can win. So it takes you to win-win kind of a mode. So you take, I feel, from no, you were saying, you take from no to on, but in a win-win mode. It's not smart aleckness. It is not trickery. And while I was reading the book, I felt that maybe curiously, and blame my idiosyncrasies for it, curiously I felt that the flavor which I am getting is of sauf. After a meal, everybody has sauf. And everybody has a good taste in mouth because of the sauf. So this book takes you through a process which gives a good taste, good aftertaste to the process itself. Who the book is for? Mr. Brara said it is for family, etc. Yes, I would also say this book is also for politicians. And this book is for common citizens. Because if you look at our politicians, worldwide, people are now recognizing what a great political thinker Daly said, that if you want to win in politics, the first rule of politics is go and sell your story door to door, which is what Rahul Gandhi did, and you see the results. So not only in those areas, in climate change areas, in GAD, WTO, etc., we need to sell. We cannot just fight and block. Ultimately, the aspirations of the public should be kept in mind, and we should not let down this public once again, just because we don't know. We know either to block, or to pounce. We should know also to sell. And this book tells you how to do it without compromising your dignity and your integrity. Also, I feel that this book is for a common citizen also. Any person who's who's trying to bring some change in society, even if you're trying to convince, let us say, your husband or your wife that behave better with the PN or the driver, there also you need to sell. Because he might say, no, this is how to behave, नहीं तो ये लोग बिगड़ जाएंगे, इन लोगों की जाति खराब होती है. अगर कोई भी आप चेंज लाना चाहते हो तो आपके पास कोई कन्विंसिंग एबिलिटी होनी चाहिए. ये किताब आपको वो कन्विंसिंग एबिलिटी देती है. So, that's broadly what I thought. It is a fresh presentation. Even Maslow's hierarchy, which he was speaking about, has been presented in a unique anecdote, which I've never read. I've read Maslow's hierarchy so many places, but I've never read anything like that. The example used are Indian. In a nutshell, if one will follow systematically the steps outlined in the book, he can master the art of getting people to say yes in a very agreeable way. I'm reminded of a couplet which I'll finish this with. खुशबुओं को फैलने का शौक है मगर खुशबुओं को फैलने का शौक है मगर मुमकिन नहीं हवाओं से रिश्ता किए बगैर. ये किताब आपका हवा के उस झोंके से रिश्ता बनाती है जो आपकी खुशबू को दूर तक ले जाएगा. So, thank you very much.
On those wise words, before we get on with the other great speakers here, I'd request the dignitaries present to release the book. We can all unveil the book together. That really deserved a yes-like applause, you know. It was
2 years, but it's constant. 2 years must be constant. Yes, constant. So did you continue to live with the book?
Wherever I travel, I took.
He lived more with me though, I did less.
Because 2 years for a book is too short for, if you really have to live with the book.
Well, I would now like to call upon one of my favorite Indians, Dr. Kiran Bedi. Let me introduce her formally. She has been India's first and highest ranking woman officer who joined the Indian Police Service in 1972. Recipient of the prestigious Raman Magsaysay Award, also called the Asian Nobel Prize, and several other decorations. Dr. Bedi is an author of several books, and she's anchored various television as well as radio programs, the most recent one being Aapki Kachehri. It's been making waves everywhere. She has worked with the United Nations as the police advisor to the Secretary General in the Department of Peacekeeping Operations. She has represented India at the United Nations and in international forums on crime prevention, drug abuse, police and prison reforms, and women's issues. Most of us might not know, but she has also been a national and an Asian tennis champion. Her two NGOs, Navjyoti and India Vision Foundation, reach out to over 10,000 beneficiaries daily. Kiran Bedi has been voted as India's most admired woman, and she has braved many battles single-handedly and has tread the road less traveled to make often the unthinkable happen. And as I'm reading your profile and as I have read so much about you, ma'am, I was really wondering that you might have really converted so many no's into yeses in your life. I'm wondering, why didn't you write this book? So,
The secret right now.
great. So, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Kiran Bedi.
Secret right now. Sorry, आगे से जाना पड़ेगा. Thank you. Friends, my secret is very simple, and it's very, very easy. It's the art of getting people to say yes to those who need to be persuaded. In my career, you don't need that. Who needed it? Isn't that right there? Isn't it right? You just have to order to get a yes. So that's what it is. It's, in fact, as I constantly, as I kept flipping through the book, looking for it, and I said, this book is meant for the Indian Foreign Service. It's meant absolutely for the Indian Foreign Service. It should become a course there. But when I started to look at the book from my point of view, and I never had to do this with my colleagues. I just had to say, ye karna hai. To kehte the, yes sir. So we had a yes by order. See that simple, Charu?
Yeah. Okay.
That's the secret. It is so simple.
Wow.
You just had to be in uniform and in the right hierarchy. A head constable orders a constable, an assistant sub-inspector orders a head. It's all hierarchical. And the problem is when you have the courage to say no and not say yes. When we run into our seniors who tell you to say, to do a particular thing, and you would say no and not yes. So I'm looking at this book from a different perspective. Don't mind that word. I'll tell you for an instance when I did say no instead of saying yes. But you see, this is a different context. Like, for instance, a new commissioner in Delhi police took over. And he was now trying to meet up with everybody. He had grown with us, so we all knew him. I won't mention his name. And he called me and he said, Kiran, do you write for the newspapers? I see that you write. I said, yes, sir, I do. And he said, you will not write from tomorrow. It's written in my biography, so I'm not saying this right away. Just off the cuff, it's documented. And he said, you will not write from tomorrow. I said, why would I not write? He says, that's it. You'll not write. I said, I will write. He's my commissioner and I have to stay and work with him. And I told him, I will write. Now, you see, it didn't matter to me at that time how do I get him to say yes to me? I wanted to hit him back. You see, sometimes you want to give it back and you want to take the consequences. Because you want to play a game with him where you want to teach him that you may be senior in your rank, but you need to be put in your place. And so I said, now that's a typical Punjabi way of responding. Let me tell you that. So Brara and I share that spirit, but you see, he's become a fine-tuned Punjabi. I'm still my truth. So I gave, you see, a real Punjabi is patthar for patthar, right? As a brick for a brick. And that gentleman didn't understand that I was truly a Amritsari Punjabi. So I said, I will write. And he looked at me. I knew he's my commissioner. In another few days, he will be writing my ACR. And I am in the queue for my final promotion to become one day whatever. And I said, I don't care for that. So much of thought came to me, I'm annoying him. And I said, I will write. So what I'm saying is, it had its own consequences. It went on and on. Fortunately, he didn't write my ACR because before exactly 88 days, 90 days were to complete, I got a United Nations assignment. He couldn't put anything on my ACR and I escaped him. But I dared to tell him that. So what I'm saying, I think, is the art of getting people to say yes with a heart. I think the real key is, in our career, if I would say, put it differently, how do I get a yes? Because I get a yes by my birthright, by my profession, by my hierarchy. But do I get a yes where he has a heart in saying yes? Where he's warmed up to say yes. And that was my key of working. That was my method of working. Not by training, not by any scholarships in Honolulu, but by compassion, but by understanding, by sensitive feeling, by realizing that if I were in his place, what would I expect from the typical common sense approach. If I want my junior to say yes, is he saying yes but with his heart in it, or is he saying yes because he's afraid of me? Because if he's afraid of me and saying still yes, or I'm getting a yes, saying yes ma'am, will he do it with the methodology which I want him to do? And my whole methodology in my career, without learning the art of getting people to say yes, I use the method of humanity, compassion, care, feelings, understanding, reaching out, and also huge amount of communication. Saying, baith jao, समझो मैं तुमको ये क्यों कह रही हूँ करने को, कहेंगे हर चीज़ में yes madam. Including my experience with the Tihar jail experiments, when we worked with the criminals, why would they say yes to me to give up crime? When I persuaded them to go into a huge meditation program, it was huge amount of communication and many tools which I now, when I read through his book, I found they fitted like a brilliant tea. But I didn't know that they were the right ways. My whole untrained understanding was the human factors. But now the trained factors are exactly what his concept says. So I think the more of us, we bureaucrats, we persons in service, read it. Which I think this book will more be in the art of dealing with your seniors rather than with your juniors. In juniors, you need compassion. With the seniors, you need this art. Am I off the mark? I think that's the key to this book. So I think we need to, while with the juniors, we can command a yes. We can extract a yes. But with the seniors, we can't get it. How do we deal with the seniors? And believe me, none of us are trained in the police academy to do that. And that's exactly the reason many of us have problems with our politicians and particularly the bureaucrats. And therefore, I suggest this should go to the National Police Academy for training before they don't make mistakes which we did in our careers. That would be basically my basic recommendation. I congratulate Brara. I'd known him. I was introduced to him through Mr. Tajinder Khanna, who was then the Lieutenant Governor in his first term when he came as the Lieutenant Governor, and we wanted to do some projects on traffic management. I think we're still exactly where we were 10 years ago, and I think we're even in a worse situation. Even then, we were at the planning stage, and we're still at the pre-planning stage. So, and that's the time when I met him, and since then, after my Lieutenant Governor's assignment, I moved on. But I didn't forget him. I was only one email away from him, and the moment he connected with me saying, I'm so-and-so, and I've done this, the art of it. Let me tell you, I didn't say yes because the book title was yes. I said yes out of a factor that for good memory's sake, for the kind of goodwill we had created with each other, and secondly, I had this time. 3, I wanted to come and listen and learn, and that's my real objective. I'll congratulate you for your book. Thank you.
Sorry, please stop.
Yeah.
Kiranji, I'm reminded of my last trip to National Police Academy. And you're absolutely correct that this book should go to the National Police Academy, because when I went last time to speak there, I met a very bright officer there who had just, who did his IIM Ahmedabad, and then he joined a private sector company where he was one of the top ones, and then he left that and joined police. So I asked him, why did you leave such a fine and well-paying job and join police, that job was so comfortable? He said, I joined the police because it is only in the police where the customer is always wrong, and I want it to be where the customer is always wrong.
Once again, it should go along with your book title, it's possible. Then it will add.
While you were talking, I was also reminded about something. It's चाहे जितने तूफान आए, ये ताना बाना बदलेगा. तू खुद को बदल, तभी तो ज़माना बदलेगा. And now I'd like to call upon Shri Anil Shastri. He's the chairman of the Lal Bahadur Shastri Institute of Management, of course, the former member of Parliament, and also a special member of the Congress Working Committee now. Editor, Congress Sandesh, a monthly magazine published by the Congress Party. He's a member of the Governing Council, National Foundation for Communal Harmony, an autonomous organization under the Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India. As I was going through his varied profile, I found that not only is he associated with various educational and social institutions and their programs, he has also worked with Voltas, a company in senior positions for 17 years. And I would request him to share with us his views on the art of getting people to say yes.